Hello everyone, it's Richard here again. I'm in the process of setting up a new playtest game for an ACW game using some 10mm figures I've got, which these are some. Now in terms of basing, we're going to have to chop those up a bit in order to form columns for going on roads. Maybe they're coming up so much with the infantry wars, certainly. But the good thing is I don't actually rebase them as such. I have to cut bases up, perhaps, yes, okay, but that's a lot of job. That's on my own need to be more flexible. I think I'm not going to bother basing much at all. Really, I got fed up with it. I've tried to rebasing and magnetic bases and all that kind of stuff, and it's just so tedious. What I have done, and what I may do, I've got some felt stuff. It's actually plastic felt, but it's kind of felt. And what I may well do, given that this is also felt stuff, I may well stick some felt to the base of the lightweight figures, and that will then help them to stick to the hills and things. I think I'll do that. And as for the actual terrain, I've made a felt stream, and the whole thing is based on a video I saw called the Action at Platville Valley. I'll put a link in the description below, and that in turn is based on a Donald Featherstone game in his book War Games, which I read a long time ago, so I'm quite inspired to do that as well. And this reminds me of what some design notes I'm thinking about, because one point he made, I read about in one of his books, not sure which one, but in ACW terms, a key point of him as being in modern war, the first modern war, in automation and so forth, but also that the rifle muskets and so forth of the day could outrange the canister or grape shot of the guns, of the artillery cannon. Which meant that the gunners themselves became vulnerable to sharpshooters, or just musket fire in general. And that's a key factor in how the whole thing worked out. The technology always is a key factor, so that so I want to reflect that in terms of what the range intervals are. So if you recall, for the World War II game, playtest game I did earlier, I did about 20 centimeters for the actual infantry. That could arguably be longer, but for these guys, for the 10mm guys, I have to go 10 centimeters. And the actual canister or grape range interval will be 5. In addition, I'm making the maximum range to be 5 intervals. This is a bit of an explanation, so I'll a bit of detail, but the way I worked out the actual range factor before was 5 latches, which is fine, but make it a linear way, adding or subtracting dice to the actual total was wrong. So instead, what I'm doing now is still using D6 dice, and given the maximum range is 5 intervals, whatever the interval range number is, you take the actual 5 latches number from the D6 value. It's hard to explain, it's probably easier to do in practice. So for example, if I get a dice, I'll just do it for them. So if the actual range interval we are firing at is 5 units, by the 5 latches sequence, that's going to be a penalty of 5 penalty points for the range. So it's to go 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. 0 is ignored, so it's 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. Is that 4? It's 4. What is it? So the point is, I need 6 to be a hit at least in any case to give people a chance at the maximum range. So that defines the maximum range, because the maximum deduction is 5 in that case, which defines the maximum range intervals, number of intervals you have. Or it defines what it limits the number of 5 naturally penalty points you could have, and that's determined by the range interval. Bit hard to explain, it's all quite linear and simple in the end, I hope. So that's what I'm doing. So the range interval limit is 5 units. The unit is 10 centimetres. So, is it 5 units? How to get this right? 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. Yes, it is. It is 5 units. So, just that 5 units happen to correspond to 5 penalty points. So the maximum range is 5 units. So a 6 can still score, still count. And 10 centimetres range for the unit is a maximum range of 50 centimetres. Seems fine given the scale. Looks fine to me. And that's another point to consider in designing things. Is you look at the thing. I think in the World War II game I had the actual scale was wrong. I had some bolt action figures, but really the scales just don't suit that. So I might sell them. Anyway, yeah, as I was saying, 10 centimetres for the interval is fine. I think should work, and 5 for the canister means the maximum range is 25 centimetres, which means the infantry outrange the guns, which is what I want. So that's what I'm doing for this ACW game. And also the cavalry should be less effective against infantry than they were 50 years earlier in the Napoleonic times. Again, because of technology change. It's a key factor. So I think the cavalry should still have a hefty attack value, but in principle they should not get to their target in time to actually do anything, because they can approach and the target unit, infantry unit, or let's say, can choose when to react. No doubt choose short range, and the shortest range, optimum range, is 2 unit intervals, because they're each 1 deduction. And my video's about to run out of space, so I'm going to finish soon. Anyway, I'm making some design notes of all changes. Another one is taking a morale test on failed commands. I think that's easier than what I had in mind in the actual notes I wrote. It's certainly more effective than the ACW game, so I'm going to try that. And what else? There's a few other points, but yeah, I just wanted to make some, just to give you some background idea to how I do things and how I go about these rule tweaks, not parameter tweaks, not rule tweaks, parameter tweaks. And I add small micro rules to make things work for particular periods, like forming squares in Napoleonic times, for example, would be a micro rule. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. See you later. Bye. Oh, please comment, share and subscribe. Thank you.